The night shift on Nexus Station was always quiet. Jai-Ho walked through the lower deck corridors with his scanner in hand, checking cargo containers like he did every night. The dim lights flickered above him. Most people avoided this part of the station. It was old, cold, and smelled like rust and machine oil. Jai-Ho was a cargo inspector. It wasn't exciting work, but it paid the bills. He had been doing this job for 3 years now, ever since he left Earth looking for something different. What he found was a lot of walking and a lot of checking boxes on a digital pad. He stopped at Storage Bay 17. The door was supposed to be locked, but it hung slightly open. Jai-Ho frowned. He approached carefully and pushed the door wider. Inside, between 2 large containers, something moved. Jai-Ho raised his scanner. "Hello? Station security requires you to identify yourself." A small shape pressed harder against the wall. In the shadows, he could barely see it. Then he noticed the faint glow. Soft blue lights pulsed weakly along what looked like a thin arm. "I'm not going to hurt you," Jai-Ho said. He lowered his scanner and held up both hands. "I just need to know who you are." The shape shifted. A face emerged from the darkness. It was a child. At least, it looked like a child. She had large eyes that reflected the dim light, smooth skin with patterns that glowed pale blue, and 3 fingers on each hand. An alien girl. She looked terrified. "Please," she whispered in broken Universal Standard. "Please don't tell. Please." Jai-Ho's heart sank. She couldn't have been more than 12 or 13 years old if he compared her to human children. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her glowing marks flickered like a dying light bulb. She was so thin, he could see her bones. "How long have you been here?" he asked gently. The girl's eyes filled with tears. 3 weeks. Maybe more. I don't know. 3 weeks? Jai-Ho couldn't hide his shock. "What have you been eating?" "Scraps. From the waste units. Sometimes water from the pipes." Her voice was small and scared. Jai-Ho felt something twist in his chest. He looked at this frightened child and couldn't understand how she had survived this long. More than that, he couldn't understand how no one had helped her. "Why didn't you go to station security? Or the medical center?" The girl pulled back. I tried so many times." Her glow dimmed even more. "I asked the Thorians near the market. They said I looked sick. They said to go away. I asked the Valdine merchants. They said it wasn't their problem. I tried to get help from the medical center, but the doctors there said I needed credits or a sponsor. I don't have anything. What about the other ships? The travelers?" Everyone walked away. The girl's voice cracked. Every single one. They looked at me and walked away. Some ran. Some made angry sounds. One said I would bring disease. Another said helping me was illegal. Most just left. Jai-Ho set down his scanner. He moved slowly and sat on the floor a few feet away from her. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. "Kira. My name is Kira." "I'm Jai-Ho. I work here on the station." He kept his voice calm and soft. "Kira, why are you hiding?" Kira wrapped her arms around herself. "I was on a transport ship, from the Outer Rim. My family died in the war. The soldiers came. Everyone died." Tears ran down her face, glowing slightly blue. "Some people found me. They said they would take me somewhere safe. But I heard them talking. They were going to sell me, make me work until I died. I ran when we docked here." "And you've been hiding ever since?" "Yes. I can't go back to that ship. I can't. They'll find me and I'll never be free." Jai-Ho understood now. She wasn't just lost. She was running for her life. And everyone she asked for help had turned their backs on her. "I'm going to help you," Jai-Ho said. Kira stared at him. "Why? Everyone else said no. Why are you different?" Jai-Ho thought about it. He didn't have a complicated answer. "Because you need help. That's enough. But you're risking trouble. I heard them talking. Station security is looking for me. They say I'm illegal. They say I'm contaminated. You're not contaminated. You're starving. Jiho pulled his lunch pack from his bag. He had 2 sandwiches and a bottle of water. He held them out to her. Here, eat slowly, okay? If you eat too fast, you'll get sick. Kira reached out with shaking hands. She took the food like it might disappear. When she bit into the sandwich, she made a small sound. It was the sound of someone who hadn't eaten real food in a very long time. Jiho watched her eat and felt anger building inside him. How many people had walked past this child? How many had seen her and chosen to do nothing? What kind of galaxy was this where a scared kid couldn't find a single person to help her? Listen, Kira, I need to go finish my shift, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring more food and some clean clothes. Can you stay hidden here until then? Kira nodded, her mouth full of food. Don't trust anyone else, okay? Only me. I'll figure out what to do. You promise you'll come back? Her glowing marks pulsed a little brighter. Others promised before? They never came back. I promise, Jiho said. I'm human. We keep our promises. He stood up and left the storage bay, making sure the door looked closed but could still be opened from inside. His mind was racing. He had just promised to help an illegal refugee. If he got caught, he could lose his job. He could face criminal charges. Humans weren't exactly popular on Nexus Station to begin with. Most other species thought humans were too emotional, too unpredictable. But Jiho didn't care about any of that. He kept seeing Kira's face. He kept thinking about how she said everyone walked away. When he reached the main corridor, he found his supervisor Hana doing her rounds. Jiho, you're running late on your sector check, she said, looking at her datapad. Yeah, sorry. Found some containers that weren't properly sealed. Hana nodded without looking up. Get it done. We have inspections tomorrow from the upper management. Hana, can I ask you something? Make it quick. If you found someone who needed help, but helping them could get you in trouble, what would you do? Hana finally looked at him. Her eyes narrowed. This is a hypothetical question, right? Right. Just thinking. Then hypothetically, I'd say don't be stupid. Everyone on this station is looking out for themselves. That's how you survive out here. She turned to walk away, then stopped. Jiho, if you're thinking about doing something dumb, don't. Whatever it is, it's not worth your career. Got it, Jiho said. But he was already planning. He was going to help Kira. He didn't know how yet, but he would figure it out. Because if he didn't, who would? That was the difference, he realized. Other species asked, why should I? Humans asked, how can I? And that made all the difference. Jiho returned to Storage Bay 3 hours later with a backpack full of supplies. He had raided his own quarters for food, blankets, and a spare set of clothes. The clothes would be too big for Kira, but they were clean and warm. When he entered the bay, Kira was still there, huddled in the same spot. She looked up at him with wide eyes, like she couldn't believe he actually came back. I told you I'd return, Jiho said with a small smile. He spent the next hour talking with Kira while she ate more food. He learned that she was from a species called Velians. Her home planet had been caught in a territorial war between 2 larger civilizations. The Velians were peaceful people, farmers and artists. They didn't have weapons or armies. When the war came to their world, they had no way to defend themselves. Kira's family had been killed in a bombing. She was only alive because she had been in the underground storage when it happened. The smugglers found her 3 days later, wandering alone through the ruins. They seemed nice at first, Kira said quietly. They gave me food and water. They said they were taking orphans to safe places. I believed them. Her glow dimmed with shame. I was stupid. You weren't stupid. You were desperate and scared. They took advantage of that. Jiho clenched his fists. That's on them, not you. Kira looked at him curiously. Why do you care so much? Your species and mine, we've never even met before. My people, we're nobody important. We don't have anything valuable. You don't need to be important or valuable to deserve help. You just need to be alive and in trouble. Jiho stood up. Now, we need to figure out what to do next. I can't keep you here forever. Security sweeps the lower decks every few days. Then I'll run again. No, you're done running. Jiho made a decision. I'm taking you to my quarters. You'll be safer there. But you'll get caught. They'll punish you. Let me worry about that. Getting Kira to his quarters wasn't easy. Jiho had to wrap her in cargo blankets and put her on a transport cart. He wheeled her through the service corridors, his heart pounding every time he passed another worker, but no one stopped him. No one even looked twice. Once inside his small quarters, Jiho helped Kira out of the blankets. She stared around the tiny room with wonder. There was a bed, a small bathroom, a desk, and a food processor. Not much, but it was clean and safe. The bathroom is through there. There's hot water for showering. Take as long as you need. Jiho pulled out the clothes he'd brought. These will be too big, but they're better than what you have. Kira touched the fabric carefully, like it might break. I can really shower? Of course. Kira disappeared into the bathroom. Jiho heard the water start running. He sat on his desk chair and put his head in his hands. What had he just done? He was harboring an illegal refugee. If caught, he'd lose everything. His communicator beeped. It was his friend Taemin. Hey, you missed card night, Taemin's voice came through. You okay? Yeah, just tired. Long shift. You sound weird. Something wrong? Jiho hesitated. Could he trust Taemin? They had been friends for 2 years. Taemin was a good guy, always helping people, always cracking jokes to make the long shifts easier. Can you come to my quarters, alone? Don't tell anyone. There was a pause. This sounds serious. It is. Taemin arrived 20 minutes later. When Jiho opened the door, his friend stepped inside looking worried. What's going on, man? You're acting... He stopped. Kira had emerged from the bathroom, wearing Jiho's oversized shirt and pants. Her glowing marks were brighter now, pulsing with a soft blue-green light. She looked terrified to see a stranger. Who is this? Taemin whispered. Her name is Kira. She's the one security has been looking for. Taemin's eyes went wide. Are you insane? Do you know what they'll do to you if they find her here? I know. Then why... Taemin looked at Kira again. He saw how young she was, how scared. His expression softened. Oh, I see. Everyone walked away from her, Taemin. Everyone. Can you imagine being 12 years old, alone on a station with thousands of people, and not one person stops to help you? Taemin rubbed his face. This is so stupid. This is the stupidest thing you've ever done. He sighed. How can I help? Relief flooded through Jiho. Really? Yeah, really. What? You think I'm going to let you do this alone? Besides, if other species found out we just handed over a kid to smugglers, they'd have one more reason to call humans soft-hearted idiots. Might as well earn the title. Taemin smiled at Kira. Hi, I'm Taemin. I'm also stupid enough to help. Kira's glow brightened a little. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We need a plan. Taemin pulled out his data pad. First thing, we need to get her checked medically. She looks half-starved. I know someone, Jiho said. Yoonji. She works in the medical section. She's human, too. Will she help? Only one way to find out. Jiho contacted Yoonji using a secure channel. He didn't give her details, just asked if she could come to his quarters with a medical kit and not ask questions. Yoonji was quiet for a long moment, then said, I'll be there in an hour. When Yoonji arrived, she took one look at Kira and immediately went into medical mode. She scanned Kira with a handheld device, checked her vital signs, and examined her glowing marks. "She's severely malnourished," Yunji said quietly. "Her bioluminescence is weak because she hasn't had proper nutrients. In her species, the glowing marks are tied to health. When a Velian is healthy, they shine bright. When they're sick or dying, they dim." "So that's why everyone thought she was diseased," Jiho said. "Probably. Most species don't know much about Velians. They see dim marks and assume illness or contamination." Yunji prepared a nutrition injection. "Kira, this is going to help your body recover. You'll need several doses over the next week." "Will it hurt?" Kira asked. "Just a pinch." Yunji administered the injection. Kira barely flinched. When it was done, Yunji sat back and looked at all three humans. "You all know this is illegal, right? Harboring an undocumented alien. If security finds out, they won't," Jiho said. "You can't guarantee that. Security is sweeping the station. Captain Valdris knows someone is hiding the refugee. He's suspicious of the human crew already." "Valdris is always suspicious of humans," Taman said. "This time he has a reason to be." Yunji packed up her medical kit. "I'll help, but we need to be smart. Kira can't stay in your quarters, Jiho. Tomorrow there's a mandatory inspection of all crew housing." Jiho felt his stomach drop. "Tomorrow?" "Yes. It was just announced. They're checking every room in the crew sections." "Then where do I go?" Kira asked, her voice small. Taman thought for a moment. "I know a place. The old maintenance tunnel behind the water recycling plant. No one goes there except on Fridays for system checks. It's not comfortable, but it's hidden." "That gives us 4 days," Yunji said. 4 days to figure out a real solution." Jiho looked at Kira. She was trying to be brave, but he could see the fear in her eyes. She had been running and hiding for so long. She deserved better. "We'll figure this out," he promised her. "I don't know how yet, but we will." Kira's marks glowed a little brighter. For the first time since he met her, she smiled. It was a small smile, fragile as glass, but it was there. "I believe you," she said, and Jiho knew he couldn't let her down. Not now. Not ever. Moving Kira through the station was like playing a deadly game. Jiho, Taman, and Yunji took turns hiding her in different locations, always one step ahead of security sweeps. The maintenance tunnel worked for 2 days. Then they moved her to an empty storage unit that Taman rented under a fake name. After that, she spent a night in a supply closet near the medical bay. It couldn't go on like this forever. On the 4th day, Jiho met with a man named Sungho. He was a lawyer who worked in the legal section of Nexus Station. Jiho had found his name through the station directory, looking for any human who might understand law. They met in a quiet corner of a human-run cafe. Sungho was young, maybe 26, with tired eyes and ink stains on his fingers from old-fashioned paper notes. "So," Sungho said after Jiho explained everything, "you're harboring an illegal refugee. Multiple people are involved. And you want to know if there's a legal way out of this mess." "Yes," Sungho laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You humans really can't help yourselves, can you? I've been on this station for 1 year, and I've seen humans get in trouble for helping injured animals, broken robots, and now alien children." He shook his head. "Everyone else follows the rules. You people follow your hearts. Is that a bad thing? Legally? Yes. Morally?" Sungho smiled a little. "I don't think so." He pulled out his data pad. "Let me look into refugee laws. There might be a loophole." Sungho worked through the night. He contacted Jiho the next morning with news. "I found something," Sungho said over the communicator. "It's not great, but it's a chance. There's a provision for emergency refugee status. If Kira can prove she faces serious harm if returned to her original location, and if she can find a legal guardian, she might be allowed to stay." "What's the catch?" "The catch is that she needs to appear before an official hearing. That means exposing her location. If the hearing fails, security will hand her over to whoever has legal claim on her. The smugglers. Yes. Jiho felt cold. What are the chances of winning this hearing? Honestly, maybe 30%. The laws favor commerce and contracts over individual rights. The smugglers can claim she's their property under salvage laws since she was an orphan they rescued. She's not property. She's a person. I agree, but the Galactic Council doesn't always see it that way, especially for species without strong government representation. The Valians don't have an embassy here. No one to speak for them. Jiho was quiet for a long moment. What if I became her guardian? Would that help? It would help a lot. But there are requirements. You need to prove stable income, suitable living conditions, and pass a background check. As a cargo inspector, Sung-ho paused delicately. I don't make enough money. No, you don't. Not by the standards they set for cross-species guardianship. Jiho wanted to punch something. Every path seemed blocked. So what do? We prepare for the hearing and hope for the best. Meanwhile, keep her hidden. I'll file the emergency paperwork today. Once it's filed, you'll have 48 hours before the hearing is scheduled. That evening, Jiho met with Taemin and Yoonji in the maintenance tunnel. Kira was there too, sitting on a makeshift bed they'd put together from blankets. Her glow was stronger now thanks to Yoonji's medical care and regular food. She looked healthier, but also more aware of the danger she was in. A hearing, Kira said after Jiho explained. And if we lose, they take me back. We're not going to lose, Jiho said with more confidence than he felt. But the lawyer said the chances aren't good. Chances can change. A new voice spoke from the tunnel entrance. He's right about that. Everyone spun around. A woman stood there, arms crossed, looking unimpressed. Jiho's heart sank. It was Hana, his supervisor. How did you find us? Jiho asked. I'm not stupid. I've been watching you for days. You've been acting strange, taking long breaks, making weird supply requests. Hana walked closer. She looked at Kira. So this is what you've been hiding. Hana, please, shut up, Jiho. Hana pulled out her data pad. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in, all of you? Harboring an illegal refugee, falsifying supply records, lying to security? We had to help her, Yoonji said firmly. No one else would. That's not your job. Your job is to follow station regulations. Kira stood up. Her voice was quiet but steady. It's my fault. They were just being kind. Please don't punish them. Hana looked at Kira for a long moment. Something in her expression shifted. How old are you, kid? I'm 12 cycles. That's about 13 in human years. And you've been running for how long? Almost 2 months. Hana closed her eyes and breathed out slowly. When she opened them again, she looked angry, but not at them. The entire galactic community saw a 13-year-old running for her life, and everyone just walked away. Yes, Kira said simply. That's messed up. Hana put away her data pad. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to help you. Jiho blinked. What? You heard me. I'm helping. But we're doing this smart. Hana started pacing. I've been documenting everything for the past few days. The smuggling operation, the corruption in the refugee processing system, the way security has been handling this case. I've got evidence of at least 15 violations of Galactic Council humanitarian laws. Why were you documenting all this? Taemin asked. Because I knew you idiots were going to try something noble and stupid. I wanted to be prepared. Hana smiled grimly. I sent all the evidence to Earth's diplomatic corps this morning. They're very interested. Earth is getting involved? Yoonji looked surprised. Earth is always looking for ways to prove we belong in the galactic community. A case like this, where we can show moral leadership? They'll jump on it. Hana turned to Jiho. The embassy is sending a representative. They want to meet Kira before the hearing. Hope flickered in Jiho's chest. They're going to support her refugee claim? More than that. They're going to make this a test case. If we can prove the system is corrupt, if we can show how other species failed basic ethical standards, Earth gains political leverage. So they're using Kira, Jiho said, feeling some of the hope fade. They're helping her, and yes, they benefit too. That's politics, but the result is the same. She gets protection. Hana knelt down to Kira's level. Kid, this is going to get complicated. A lot of people are going to ask you questions. You'll have to tell your story over and over. Can you handle that? Kira's marks pulsed with determination. If it means I can be free, I can handle anything. Good girl. Hana stood up. The hearing is in 2 days. Sungho is right that the odds aren't great, but with Earth's backing, we have a real chance. Over the next 2 days, everything moved fast. Jiho barely slept. He helped Sungho prepare the case. They gathered evidence of the smuggling operation. They found 3 other Valian refugees who had been trafficked through the same network. They documented how station security had ignored their complaints. A woman named Yuna also appeared. She was the captain of a small cargo ship. She had gray hair and a tough attitude, but she had a soft spot for lost causes. Heard you humans were making trouble again, Yuna said when she met Jiho. Thought I'd offer my ship as a backup plan. If this hearing goes bad, I can get the girl out of here. It'll make me a criminal, but I've been called worse. Why would you risk that? Jiho asked. Yuna shrugged. I've got a daughter back on Earth. She's about the same age as your Kira. I'd want someone to help her if she was alone and scared. She looked away. Besides, humans aren't the only ones who think this whole situation stinks. On the night before the hearing, Jiho sat with Kira in a safe room that Earth's embassy had provided. She was nervous. Her marks flickered rapidly. What if it doesn't work? She asked. What if they send me back? Then we run. Yuna has a ship ready. We'll figure something out. But you'll lose everything. Your job, your home. Some things are more important than jobs and homes. Kira looked at him with those big, reflective eyes. Why are humans like this? Everyone says you're too emotional, too irrational. But you're the only ones who helped me. Jiho smiled. Maybe being emotional isn't a weakness. Maybe caring about others, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make logical sense, maybe that's what makes us strong. Kira's marks glowed bright green, a color Jiho had learned meant happiness in Velian expressions. I hope I win tomorrow. I want to stay with you. I want that too, Kira, more than anything. Tomorrow would tell if kindness was enough to overcome a cold, logical system that valued profit over people. Jiho tried to believe it would be. He had to believe it. The hearing chamber was full. Jiho had never seen so many different species in one room. There were tall reptilian creatures with scales that changed colors, floating jellyfish-like beings that communicated through light patterns, insect people with multiple eyes, rock-like entities that barely moved, and in the center of it all, a long table where the judges sat. Ambassador Thelax was the lead judge. He was an insectoid being, all sharp angles and clicking mandibles. His voice came through a translator box that made everything sound cold and mechanical. Next to him sat 2 other judges from different species, both looking bored. On one side of the chamber, Jiho sat with Kira, Sungho, and a representative from Earth's embassy. On the other side sat the legal team for the trade consortium. 3 lawyers in expensive clothes, looking confident, and behind them sat 2 figures that made Kira shrink in her seat, the smugglers who had taken her. They smiled at her. One of them made a gesture like he was putting chains on his wrists. Jiho reached over and held Kira's hand. Her marks were flickering rapidly, showing her fear. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm right here." Ambassador Thelax clicked his mandibles together. This hearing will determine the refugee status of one Kira of Velia. The petitioners claim she faces harm if returned to her previous handlers. The respondents claim legal ownership under salvage and rescue laws. His mechanical voice echoed in the chamber. Let us begin. Sung-ho stood up. He looked nervous, but his voice was steady. Honored judges, we're here today because a child was failed by every system that should have protected her. Kira lost her family in a war. She was taken by smugglers who planned to sell her into servitude. When she escaped and sought help, every species she encountered turned away. One of the consortium lawyers stood up. His name was Korith, and he was a crystalline being that reflected light in strange ways. The petitioners appeal to emotion rather than law. The facts are simple. My clients rescued an orphan from a war zone. They invested resources in her transport and care. When she ran away, she became a thief of services rendered. We simply want what is legally ours. She's not property, Sung-ho said sharply. Under Galactic Salvage Law Section 47, Subsection 12, rescued individuals without family or government support become the responsibility of their rescuers. My clients have documentation proving they found her, fed her, and transported her. They were going to sell her. The law does not prohibit contract labor agreements. She's 13 years old. Age of majority varies by species. For Velians, working age begins at 10 cycles. Jiho felt sick. They were talking about Kira like she was a piece of cargo. He looked at the judges. They showed no emotion at all. Ambassador Thelax raised one sharp appendage. Emotion is not relevant to this hearing. We deal in facts and law. Petitioner, present your evidence. Sung-ho pulled up holographic displays. He showed documents of the smuggling network, testimonies from other Velian refugees, proof that the consortium was running an illegal trafficking operation across multiple sectors. Korith countered every point. Hearsay, circumstantial, not admissible under standard evidence protocols. The hearing went on for 2 hours. Back and forth, arguments and counter-arguments. Jiho watched the judges, trying to read their reactions, but they gave nothing away. They just listened and took notes. Finally, Ambassador Thelax spoke. We will hear from the subject herself. Kira of Velia, approach. Kira stood on shaking legs. Jiho wanted to go with her, but Sung-ho held him back. She has to do this part alone. Kira walked to the center of the chamber. She looked so small, surrounded by all these massive beings. Her glow was dim with fear. Kira of Velia, Ambassador Thelax said. Tell us why you ran from your rescuers. Kira's voice was quiet at first. Because I heard them talking. They said I would be worth a lot of credits. They said someone on Nexus Station wanted young Velians for factory work. They said if I didn't work hard enough, they would... She stopped, her voice breaking. They said they would hurt me until I learned. Did they hurt you during transport? Yes. When I cried for my family, they hit me. They said crying was wasted energy. They locked me in a storage container for 2 days with no food because I asked when I could go home. One of the smugglers stood up. She's lying. We treated her well. Sit down, Ambassador Thelax ordered. You will have your turn. Kira continued. When we docked at Nexus Station, I heard them making the final deal. I knew this was my last chance. So I ran. Tears streamed down her face, glowing blue against her skin. I was so scared. I thought someone would help me. Anyone. But everyone just walked away. How many beings did you approach for help? I don't know. Maybe 50? Maybe more? I stopped counting. And how many helped you before the human found you? None. 0. Only Jiho helped. Him and the other humans. Ambassador Thelax leaned forward. Why do you think that is? Why did only humans help you? Kira looked back at Jiho. Her marks glowed a little brighter. Because humans see people, not problems. Everyone else looked at me and saw something difficult. something risky, something that might cause trouble. Jiho looked at me and saw a child who needed help. That's all he needed to know. The chamber was silent. Ambassador Thelax turned to Jiho. Human Jiho, approach. Jiho stood and walked forward. His heart was pounding. You risked your career, your freedom, and you're standing on this station for an alien child. You had no obligation to her, no connection to her species, no benefit to gain. Why? Jiho thought about all the complicated answers he could give, but in the end, the truth was simple. Because she needed help, he said. That's all the reason humans need. This is precisely the problem with your species, Korith interrupted. You act on emotion rather than logic. You form attachments to creatures you've just met. You risk everything for individuals you don't know. It's irrational. Maybe, Jiho said, but we think it's wrong to let children suffer when we can stop it. We think it's wrong to walk away from someone in pain. Call it irrational if you want. We call it being human. Ambassador Thelax was quiet for a long moment. I have reviewed Earth's history. Your species has a pattern. You take in refugees from other worlds. You adopt children from different species. You send aid to civilizations you've never met. You fight wars to protect people who aren't your own. His mechanical voice somehow conveyed curiosity. Why? What do you gain? We gain a galaxy where people help each other, Jiho said. Where being in trouble doesn't mean being alone. Where a scared kid can find someone who cares. He looked directly at the ambassador. What do you gain from a galaxy where everyone walks away? The silence stretched. Then Elder Misha, one of the other judges who hadn't spoken yet, leaned forward. She was ancient and wise-looking, with gentle eyes. The human makes a fair point, she said softly. We have built a civilization based on contracts and laws and logic. But perhaps we have forgotten that civilization exists to protect the vulnerable, not to exploit them. She looked at Kira. Child, if you could choose any guardian in this chamber, who would you choose? Kira didn't hesitate. Jiho. I choose Jiho. Why him specifically? Because when I was at my worst, when I was dirty and scared and had nothing to offer, he chose to help me anyway. Not because I was useful, not because I could pay him, just because I needed it. Kira's marks glowed pure gold, the Valiant expression of absolute trust. That's the kind of person I want in my life. Elder Misha smiled. Ambassador Thelax, I believe we should adjourn to consider our decision. Agreed, the ambassador said. This hearing is suspended for deliberation. We will reconvene in 1 hour with our ruling. As everyone filed out of the chamber, Jiho pulled Kira into a hug. She was shaking. You did great, he told her. Will we win? I don't know. Sungho joined them, looking grim. That could have gone better. The law is still on their side. But the truth is on ours, Yunji said. She had been sitting in the audience. Since when does truth matter more than law? Taemin added, also joining them. They waited in a small room. Every minute felt like an hour. Jiho watched the clock tick forward. Kira sat pressed against his side, her marks dim with anxiety. Finally, a message came. The judges were ready. As they walked back to the chamber, Jiho noticed something strange. The smugglers were having a heated conversation with their lawyers. They looked angry. Security officers were gathering near the exits. Something was happening. He just didn't know what yet. Before the judges could announce their decision, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the hearing chamber. Everyone looked around in confusion. Ambassador Thelax stood up. What is the meaning of this? The chamber doors burst open. Armed enforcers from the trade consortium stormed in, weapons raised. They weren't station security. They were private military contractors, and they looked dangerous. We're taking what's ours, one of the smugglers shouted. He pointed at Kira. That girl is our property under salvage law. We're claiming her now before this corrupt hearing can steal from us. Jiho immediately stepped in front of Kira. Taemin and Yunji moved to his sides. Other humans in the audience stood up too. A man named Daeho, who worked as a station janitor, came forward. A cargo hauler named Minsu joined them. More humans kept coming, forming a wall of bodies between the enforcers and Kira. "Get out of the way!" the enforcer leader snarled. "This doesn't concern you." "She's a child," Jiho said firmly. "That's all the concern we need. Move, or we'll move you." "No." The enforcers raised their weapons. The humans didn't move. Jiho's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might break through his chest, but he kept his feet planted. He could feel Kira trembling behind him, her small hands gripping his shirt. Ambassador Thelax's mechanical voice cut through the tension. "You dare bring weapons into an official hearing? You dare threaten violence in a Galactic Council proceeding?" "We dare to protect our business interests," Korith said. "If the Council won't enforce proper law, we will." Station security finally arrived, led by Captain Valdris. He was a tall reptilian with dark green scales and cold eyes. He surveyed the situation quickly. "Stand down," he ordered the consortium enforcers. "You have no authority here." "We have every right to reclaim our property." "Not through force. Not in my station." The enforcer leader laughed. "Your station? Everyone knows humans have bought your loyalty, Captain. You've been delaying your investigation for days, giving them time to hide the girl." Captain Valdris's scales darkened with anger. "I delay nothing. I investigate thoroughly. There's a difference." He turned to his security team. "Arrest these enforcers for bringing unauthorized weapons into a restricted area." The standoff intensified. More weapons were raised. Jiho tightened his protective stance around Kira. If shooting started, he would shield her with his own body. He saw the same determination in the faces of the other humans. Then something unexpected happened. Elder Misha stood up slowly. Despite her age, her voice carried power. "Enough. I have seen enough." She looked at the consortium lawyers with disgust. "You come into these proceedings claiming law and order, then you stage an armed kidnapping attempt. You speak of rights and contracts, then you threaten violence against children." "We're simply protecting our interests," Korith argued. "You're proving the humans' point." Elder Misha turned to Ambassador Thelax. "I vote for immediate refugee status, emergency guardianship to be granted to the human Jiho, pending full review." The third judge, who had been silent the entire time, spoke up in a bubbling, watery voice. "I agree. This is clear evidence of hostile intent. The child cannot be returned to these individuals." Ambassador Thelax was quiet. Everyone waited. Finally, he spoke. "I have reviewed Earth's history extensively. I have studied human behavior patterns. And I have observed today's events." His mechanical voice somehow conveyed a deep weariness. "For centuries, my species has prided itself on logic and rational thought. We built laws and systems based on efficiency and order. We believed this was the highest form of civilization." He looked at Jiho and the wall of humans protecting Kira. "But I see now that we built a galaxy where a child can beg for help from 50 individuals and receive none. We built a system where profit matters more than suffering. We created a civilization so focused on logic that we forgot the most basic logic of all. Societies exist to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Ambassador Thelax stood. "Kira of Valia is granted immediate refugee status. Guardianship is granted to Jiho of Earth, effective immediately. The Trade Consortium's claim is rejected. Furthermore, I am recommending a full investigation into trafficking operations across this sector." The chamber erupted in noise. The smugglers screamed protests. Korith demanded appeals. But Captain Valdris's security team moved quickly, disarming the enforcers and escorting the smugglers out in restraints. Jiho felt Kira collapse against him, sobbing with relief. Her marks blazed bright gold, then shifted through every color in the spectrum. Around them, the other humans cheered. But Ambassador Thelax wasn't finished. He approached Jiho directly. However, there is still the matter of your qualifications as Guardian. You don't meet the income requirements. You don't have suitable housing for a dependent. Under normal circumstances, this would be a problem. Jiho's relief turned to worry. What do you mean? I mean that Earth's embassy has made a proposal. He gestured to the Earth representative, a woman named Ambassador Park, who had been quietly observing. Ambassador Park stepped forward with a smile. Mr. Jiho, Earth's diplomatic corps is offering you a position as a cultural liaison. The pay is substantially higher than your current job, the housing is larger, and your duties would involve helping facilitate better understanding between humans and other species. Jiho blinked. You're giving me a job? We're giving you the means to take care of Kira properly. Whether you take the job is up to you. I'll take it, Jiho said immediately. Then he looked down at Kira. If that's what you want, it's your choice too. Kira's marks glowed so bright that people had to look away. Yes, I want to stay with you. Then it's settled, Ambassador Thelax said. He handed Jiho an official document, a holographic seal glowing at the bottom. She is now legally your daughter, in the eyes of the Galactic Council and all member civilizations. Daughter. The word hit Jiho harder than he expected. He looked at this alien girl with her glowing marks and 3 fingers, and he realized he would die to protect her. He already almost had. Thank you, he managed to say. Don't thank me, the ambassador replied. I simply recognized what should have been obvious from the start. Sometimes the illogical choice is the right choice. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Jiho moved into larger quarters in the diplomatic section. Kira had her own room, her own bed, her own space for the first time in months. Yunji helped her recover fully, teaching her about health and medicine. Sungho taught her about laws and rights, making sure she understood how to protect herself and others in her situation. Taemin taught her to laugh again. He made terrible jokes and played silly games until Kira's marks would pulse with joy. Captain Valdris quietly revealed that he had been building a case against the smuggling ring for months. He had delayed his search for Kira intentionally, giving the humans time to find a legal solution. I couldn't help her officially, he told Jiho, but I could make sure someone else had the chance. Even Hana received a promotion for her investigative work. She now headed a task force dedicated to identifying and stopping trafficking operations across the sector. Yuna visited often, bringing gifts from her travels. She and Kira formed a special bond. My daughter would like you, Yuna told Kira. Maybe someday you can visit Earth and meet her. I'd like that, Kira said. The story spread across Nexus Station and beyond. Other refugees started appearing at the human quarters, asking for help. Some were children like Kira. Others were adults escaping bad situations. Every time humans stepped up, they found housing, they provided food, they fought through legal systems, they stood as guardians. Other species started to notice. Some called it foolishness, others called it weakness. But a precious few, started to question their own assumptions. One day, 6 months after the hearing, Jiho came home to find Kira at the window, looking out at the stars. What are you thinking about? He asked. I'm thinking about how many people out there are alone and scared right now. How many are looking for help? That's a heavy thought. Sungho says I can study galactic law when I'm older. Maybe I can help change the system, make it so other kids don't have to run like I did. Jiho put his hand on her shoulder. You'll be amazing at that. Will you help me? Always. Kira's marks shifted to warm orange, the Velian expression of love and family. I'm glad everyone walked away except you. Me too, Kira, me too. Years later, when people asked Jiho why he risked everything for an alien child, he always gave the same answer. It was simple. It was honest. It was human. Because she needed help, and I could give it. What other reason do you need? And in that simple truth lay the difference between humans and the rest of the galaxy. While others calculated risks and benefits, weighed costs and gains, debated laws and logic, humans asked one question: does someone need help? When the answer was yes, they acted. They didn't always succeed. They didn't always get it right. But they tried. And sometimes, trying was enough to change everything. The galaxy had built itself on logic and order, but the humans were teaching them something new, something that couldn't be measured or calculated or written into law. They were teaching them compassion. And one child at a time, one act of kindness at a time, one human at a time, the galaxy was learning. Not everyone walked away anymore. And that made all the difference.